Zach here. It is September 21st, I think it is, 2023. And I am so excited to hang out with you guys and pick back up on this video content creation. My summer has been super busy. I just got done getting married, going on a honeymoon, and everything has just been so wild and busy. And I've been so stoked to pick up my video content and keep making these, and it seems like one thing after another keeps distracting me and distancing me from it. And right now I'm on not 100% of a fast, but I've been very much fasting from a lot of the things in my lifestyle and trying to empty myself out. Not smoking at all, did no coffee today, have a little cup of chocolate, which is cool because I haven't been drinking cacao very much lately. But I really wanted to just sort of wrap together my whole channel into a circle here, because I think a lot of you are like, who the heck is this guy? What's he all about? And why does the channel cover such a strange mix of topics, including plant medicines, health, foods and detox, philosophy, Christian principles, and all of that. And I'd like to help you guys to understand, who am I? Who is Zach? Who is Zach Zaxton? As I'm known online, it's Zach Zaxton is my name. This channel is Zach of Eternity. My real name is a little different than that. It is Zach, but my last name is a little different. So let me start with the prayer. Thank you, God. Thank you for bringing me here today and bringing whoever comes onto this video here. Please let my words be a blessing and an inspiration to those who listen, and help the words to come out in a good way, to be clear and beneficial for people. Amen. So my whole journey my journey as an adult started in 2006, I would say. I am 35 right now. So in 2006, I was like 17 or I guess 18. That's when I started meditating, and that's when I first had mushrooms and started really thinking outside of the box and asking intense questions. It all started when I started asking questions and seeking truth and seeking purpose and seeking meaning in my life. All the way back then, it began with like becoming a vegetarian, meditating regularly, studying philosophy, and it has come such a long way. You know, from 2007 till now, it's like, oh my gosh, that's such a freaking long time, and so much has happened. Some of the things we're going to go through in this video, I took a little bit of notes on it. We're going to talk about food, my journey with food. I was vegan for 13 years. I am not vegan currently, although my heart is still just so conflicted about all of it. Why has my food journey changed? Largely because of health and wellness. I have been through so much chronic sickness, so much chronic pain, so much just struggle and crazy crap in my journey, not just as a vegan, just in general, just so much crazy crap that I've been through that I have been humbled from it, and I have reconfigured my diet, and I've been just exploring different things and exploring meat even, which is like so freaky to me, because part of me still feels very much like vegan Zach who never wants to harm anything. I don't want to harm anything. I want to live in harmony and live peaceably. But what I came to at a certain point is my body was falling apart, and I feel like God already built my body up to this point of getting to a certain age, and it would be foolish to be such a monk and ascetic that I say I won't ever harm an animal and I will just let myself die and fall apart if need be. Because that was my mentality. You know, for a long time I was like, screw it, I'm never hurting anything, no matter what happens to me, you know, so be it. And I'm not there anymore. And the reason why I'm not there is largely because I had children. So such a big journey. If anybody's here, feel free to comment and ask questions and guide my direction of this video, because there's a lot of stuff to cover here. So we're going to talk about food. We're going to talk about my work, because I live in America. I grew up in St. Louis. I still spend a lot of time in St. Louis. I'm in St. Louis right now. This is my office. We're going to talk about plant medicine and my journey of, like I said, eating mushrooms when I was younger, excessive amounts of cannabis through most of my adulthood, as well as my attempt to be disciplined and be a good person and live righteously. All of this has been a lot to put on the scales and make sense of. And it's not that I've fully made sense of it yet, but I really need my community. I need you guys to help me sort all of these things out. And I think that's a part of the reason, providentially, why this channel exists and why God has brought me to a place where I have a channel and have all these diverse, different people to communicate with. We're going to talk about art and philosophy. Those have been a big part of my journey. The festivals I've done, my video making, the workshops and the things I've done teaching through the years, the pains I've gone through, the sexual struggles and confusions, the dark nights of the soul. I'll talk a little bit about the time that I went to jail for growing weed, right? That's kind of exciting and was definitely very scary and not something I want to repeat. And then finally, we're going to round it down to where I'm at now, which is I came to Christ in 2017. And it wasn't like I signed up on a religious form somewhere. God sent me a mystical visionary experience that was more profound than any of the psychedelic stuff I've been through. And I simply could not deny the potency of that invitation. And as I have followed that invitation and unpacked the meaning of what happened back in 2017, it's brought me further and further into this journey of pursuing God and understanding the walk of Christ as the narrow way of godliness. I'm going to talk about my wife, Megan, and our recent marriage and our 2 children, Ezekiel and Magnolia. And I am so blessed to have my family and my children and everything. So, take a drink of cacao here. So, a lot of you guys know me just through this channel. You might not have any other outside reference to who I even am. And if so, everything you've seen from me is 2015 through 2017. That's the majority of the videos I made was in that period. If you just came to my channel lately, you're probably seeing a lot of the Christian philosophy content too. But most people that have followed my videos are on here either because of raw food, health, detox kind of stuff. And I love you guys. I'm so grateful for you to be a part of my audience. And I very much still do consider myself a part of that group, even though my diet, I've been exploring different things and trying to unlock my health and make it better. I'm very passionate still about all of that. And I'm very grateful for the part of my journey that was in all the raw food and the veganism. Some of the rest of you know me through my Facebook, which is Zach Zaxton. I have a pretty big following on there. And yeah, I think everybody is a little bit confused about exactly who I am and exactly what all my journey has entailed and where all I've been and who I am exactly. Some other of you know me through Eternity Box Botanicals, which is my company that I started in 2012, and it's my livelihood. That's what I do professionally. I run Eternity in a Box Botanicals, which is an online herbal company. So we sell plant medicines. Everything ranging from herbal teas, like echinacea and ginkgo and ginger and marshmallow and slippery elm and all that stuff, all the healthy good stuff. But we're especially known for plant teachers, which is a term that I guess we somewhat created, but I'm sure other people were playing with the term too. But back in 2013, the term was not very popular. Plant teachers are a descriptor of plants which have effects on your mind and your emotion and help you to ask those deep questions like I talked about in the beginning of the video. So plant teachers that we sell are like ayahuasca herbs. We have had San Pedro cactus before, Amanita muscaria mushrooms, Hawaiian baby wood rose seeds, morning glory seeds, kava kava, lotuses and lily flowers, dream herbs like Kalia zacatekichi, Silene capensis dream herb, Man, the world of plants is just so wide and amazing. And I'm grateful that I've had so much time exploring plants and have been blessed with this livelihood to be able to live my day-to-day life with plants and doing plant stuff. It's been a lot of fun. So let me get into my notes a little bit, and we'll start unpacking my story here. So back in 2006 and 2007, I started meditating around the same time. It was like mushroom experience, meditating, vegetarianism, asking deep questions, and seeking to find purpose. It felt like my whole early adulthood leading up to that point, like almost like I was becoming like cemented into this form, like society had bound me into this frame. And I'm sure a lot of people relate to that. And for me, that's what a big part of what the aha moment was with the psychedelic plant medicines, was I saw that they were helpful in allowing my conditioning to reshape and giving me a chance to step outside of those frames that society has put on me and really step into the pursuit of truth outside of the societal conveyor belt that I was on. Around this time too, started my dreadlock journey. You guys can see I've had dreadlocks for 15 years now. Show them off for a second, because I wear a hat a lot of times now, so a lot of people don't see them. But they're super long and they're all natural and all of that. And hey, dreadlocks are cool. I think they're fun. They're silly in a certain sense because they're really heavy and it's a lot. Like they're hot in the summer, and in the winter it's just like it's like a big like Russian puffy hat or something on my head, which is cool, I guess. But dreadlocks are kind of crazy. It's kind of a weird thing. But hey, I'm 15 years into the journey. If I cut them off now, there's no going back. Like I can't get back to these. If I right now cut these dreadlocks off and started regrowing them, I would be 50 by the time I got to the same point, and that would be a very different world experience. So dreadlocks, how weird, right? Who is this weird dreadlock Zach guy? I went vegan at 2007. Vegetarian was 2 years before vegan. Vegan was 2007. Dreadlocks was right at the exact same time of veganism. I finished high school. I went to a community college for a couple of years. Didn't really do a whole lot there. Mostly studied art, philosophy, and earth sciences. I wasn't really worried about getting a degree. It was more about learning and just having the social experience. My life quickly after that became a lot of struggle. I got confronted with a lot of chronic health issues, chronic inflammation, so much stuff, so much different pain that I've been through, physical pains, nerve pains, weird neurological issues that have kind of come in through waves through the years. You know, like at times it's been better, at times it's been worse. You know, overall I'm grateful for where I'm at, and I'm grateful for the whole story. You know, it's a big part of what I'm wanting to convey here is that, like, some people see me and where I'm at now, having a family and kids, and they think like, oh man, I can't relate to this. This is a normal Christian guy with a family and all this. And it's like, my story is not some cozy religious boat ride down a stream. You know, my journey has been a whitewater rapid turbulence of health issues and demonic battles. That's what I've always defined. Way before I was Christian, way before, I always still identified it as kind of demonic battles. That's because of the way it manifested mentally, emotionally, physically, and just the trajectory of my life. It's like there's points where things have felt very heavenly, and then it seems like when the change between heavenliness and something being hellish is so dramatic. And at times the shifts have been, I've had shifts happen in my life in a single day that changed everything. And I'm not just talking about like a crazy life event. I mean like almost astounding, like seemingly like timeline shift type crap where everything's going great, and then all of a sudden there's chronic pain everywhere that manifests in a single day. And that's not exaggerating whatsoever. Actually, I've had big struggles emerge, and then I've had also large portions of that struggle lift seemingly miraculously and quickly too, which is a big part of what's led me into viewing the godly path and this journey we're on with such reverence, that there really is a spiritual foundation to everything we're going through, in my opinion. So struggles and everything. I was lonely for a long time, from like age like 17 till 22. Super lonely, didn't have any girlfriends or anything. I was like becoming this psychedelic philosopher, poet, spending a lot of time just writing and studying philosophy and stuff. And it was good for my mind, but it was rough on my heart too, because it made me so alien and different from a lot of people around me. 17 to 18 years old, everybody's like partying and wanting to just, get wild and sleep around and everything. And my carnal self wanted all that too. But as I started pursuing purpose and meaning and everything, I just felt like my heart started ripping in two, because like I didn't want that. I wanted it, but I didn't want that. I didn't want to just party and derange myself. I didn't want to just sleep around and have a bunch of meaningless sexual interactions. But at the same time, my carnal flesh was lonely and confused, and it was truly, truly a struggle. Truly a struggle. Through my whole adulthood, I have really sought to live in a good way. As soon as I saw the crossroad of like righteousness and ugliness, I have been seeking righteousness. But what has been humbling in the recent years is realizing how far off the mark I was with all of that. I've sought to be righteous and live good, but goodness gracious, have I missed the mark and been completely confused about exactly what that means. And that's largely why I want to make this video. I hope to encourage and bless some people that are going through either similar struggles or something parallel, to know that like you can push through and get to something really beautiful and profound. Like, I still struggle. It ain't like my life's just totally peachy. I still have a lot of chronic inflammation and sinus issues and stuff like that. But I am so grateful for the journey, and I am so grateful that God has pushed back a lot of this demonic stuff that was clouding me for so long and given me this little bubble of a good life, and I'm really grateful for that. So, lonely. My first girlfriend was like 2010. My first serious relationship, right? I lost my virginity then at age 22, which is kind of crazy, right? Like most everybody I knew had already done that. So that was like alienating in and of itself. I was like the only one not sleeping with people. And part of me was proud of that, of like, oh, I'm not just like senselessly sleeping with people. But the other part of me felt totally insecure that like I'm the one who's not succeeding and doing this mating ritual that all my friends seem fulfilled from, and it's that struggle of those two sides of the scale was really heavy for me in my early adulthood, especially dealing with all the chronic health stuff and just being so confused and like feeling just so alienated from everyone and everything that I knew. Let's see if anybody's in here. Oh, thanks for watching, whoever all's here. Appreciate you guys. So yeah, 2010 was my first serious relationship that lasted like a year. So it wasn't really too serious, obviously, but more serious than anything else I had been through. 2012 was when I began Eternity in a Box, and that was where kind of the modern Zach first began. That was like the first little seed that I planted that started to grow into what I became, which is like an herbalist and a like psychedelic philosopher of sorts, I guess. So Eternity in a Box, for those of you that are not familiar, like I said earlier, we sell a range of plants. We got all kinds of plant medicines. That's what I do. Ceremonial cacao, nootropic herbs like Celastris that help with memory recall. I've been an herbalist for a long time, and it all started in 2012 on eBay. And I started selling Hawaiian baby woodrose seeds on eBay because I had a whole bunch of them and I didn't know what to do with them. I had way more than I needed. And they started selling and people started asking about other plants. And I was just kind of like being goofy, and I'm like, oh yeah, we can get those plants. We can get those, referring to us as a we, as though like I'm a business. Because right off the bat, I made up the name Eternity in a Box Botanicals. Because I was like, if I'm gonna sell plants on eBay, I wanna have a name. I want it to feel cool when somebody gets the package. I don't want them to think like this is just some dude sitting at his dad's house where he lives selling plants, and it wasn't that I was trying to con someone into the sales. It's more that like I wanted it was like an artistic endeavor. I thought it would be fun and goofy to make up a company name and like present it as like, I'm a company and I have plants. Oh, so comment come in, see if I can see it. I'll look through it in a minute. I'm not really sure how to view the comments. Here, let me see if I can see this word. It might be better to see them up here. So, 2012, I started selling the wood rose seeds, and I made up the name Eternity in a Box Botanicals, and it came from a poem that I had written years earlier. The poem is really short and I think kind of cryptic and interesting. It said, "Emerging of the plains, 2 sparks, 1 flame, eternity in a box for another day." That's it. And I was looking through my poems after I started selling the seeds, and I was like, man, I know in my poem somewhere I've got a cool phrase in there that'll become a company name. And I chose Eternity in a Box. And so 2013, in 2012, I started dating another girl. So my second serious relationship, she helped me develop Eternity in a Box and got the website going and all of that stuff. It was a blessing for sure, a companion in the early days of Eternity. 2013, we develop our website. We register as an LLC and all of that stuff. We become like an official business rather than just an eBay thing. Part of what inspired that is we got kicked off eBay because, go figure, what am I selling? It's psychoactive plant medicines, Hawaiian wood rose, Amanita muscaria, started selling ayahuasca, cappy vines and all this stuff. eBay doesn't like that stuff. Babylon hates that stuff. The system hates that stuff. So go figure, But that was sort of a providential thing that nudged me and nudged Eternity in a Box into a more legitimate platform. And it turned out to be a big blessing. 2013, we did okay business. 2014, we started doing pretty good. 15, we were doing good. 16, we were doing good. 17 was kind of like our peak. And then we got crashed into by the Babylon system and we lost our credit processing. That's all a byproduct of the kratom industry, right? So we've sold kratom. We started selling kratom a year or two before that, but it was never like our top herb. We've never been really focused on kratom. Excuse me. But I've always felt that it's a valuable thing to have available. If I have like a headache, I would rather take 1 gram of kratom, an Advil or some crap like that. For sure. That's common sense to me as an herbalist. But that being said, we were selling kratom. And in 2017, the FDA said that they were going to ban it. They released this big thing, and it was a whole controversy in the herbal community. Everybody was kind of freaking out because they're like, whoa, kratom's about to be illegal. So we put out this newsletter to 8,000 people, I think it was, on our newsletter. And we said, hey, kratom's about to be illegal. If you want it, buy it right now. And over the next month, we're doing a sale and probably gave a coupon code or something like that. And our sales went up big time. We did tens of thousands of dollars in sales in that 1 month. And because of that, our credit processor reviewed us because they're, anytime if you do credit processing, any business, they look at the graph of how your sales are going. And if all of a sudden it spikes, they want to look at that in case it's laundering and stuff like that. And that's totally understandable. I understand the financial institution is wanting to get their own back and make sure it's all safe and everything. But because our kratom sales spiked it so much, they reviewed us. And it's not that they found that we were doing anything illicit, but they found all the plant medicines and they were like, wait a minute, you've been working with us for 5 years, but we don't like you. We don't like anything you're doing. So we got kicked off the credit processing, and that crashed the company down. At the time, I had multiple employees working for me, and it created a huge financial struggle where I'm trying to make sure, I was trying to put my employees first, make sure everybody's getting paychecks, and slowly just getting myself in a bad financial situation, And that has since cleared, and the Eternity has reshaped and is regrowing and everything, thank God. But 2017 was an intense time. So much to this. I should have made this 8 different videos, but I kind of wanted one to just explode out to anybody who wants to really hear my story. And then from here, please comment and let me know what you guys are most interested in. I would be happy to zoom in on any of this in the future. If you're interested in the chronic health kind of issues, if you're interested in more about Eternity in a Box and our journey, if you're interested in the spiritual part of how my philosophy came all the way from psychedelic mystic to Christian, that it's all, there's a lot to it. And I'm going to try to skim over all of it right now, but I get that this is probably information overload. So if you're a little bit floored or not liking it, I can't entirely blame you, but I pray that you'll be merciful and hopefully still hear me out and subscribe and like and share and all that stuff that gets the channel out there. So 2017, let me touch on this part. So Eternity was, 2012 to 2017 was doing great, crashed. 2018 and 19 and 20 was not doing very good. I had some of my employees rip me off, literally stole stuff, stole client information, tried to become my competitor, making their own website, which didn't work out for them, but it was still like an ultimate backstabbing moment. It very much made me like question humanity in that sense. Like after I had gone out of my way to make sure everybody's paychecks were paid and that everybody could pay their rent and all of this stuff, to wind up being stolen from and everything, it was crappy, it was crappy. So 2017 was that. 2018 was like a very, very important year for me. The beginning of 2018, a deeper wave of chronic health stuff set in. I had already been dealing with it in waves, but in 2018, I went into like crisis mode. And I'm not gonna unpack all of that in this video because it's a lot. It's a whole lot. But I was having like very weird issues in my like heart, and my breathing and everything. And I went to a doctor a little bit and they checked my lungs. They're like, your lungs seem fine and all this. And I just ended up being like, all right, well, I'm back on my own. And because I'm not going to let you just test me and give me a bunch of freaking drugs and just further push me down a toxic road. So I clinged to God and I prayed and I kept asking for guidance. And slowly but surely, God has revealed to me a path to make my health better. And I'm making progress with all of it. But the other big thing in 2018 is that I met Megan, who ended up becoming my wife this year, got married this year. So in 2018, I meet Megan, and it's at a point when my life is like imploding, it feels like. Like it was very, very scary. And most people, I don't know if I'll ever make a video talking about all the details of it, unless you guys really, really want it, because it was very scary. And it's startling to even recall. And like, I don't even really want to, I don't have a desire to paint a picture of exactly how dark and bleak it was, because it's like, goodness gracious, like how spooky is that to even paint that kind of thing, So that being said, I was like, my life was like imploding, and then I meet Megan, and I meet her at my friend Brendan Cady. He has an art gallery, and I am doing a meditation class in his art gallery. And the same day that I am doing my meditation class, Megan, she had just put her art up in his gallery. She's an artist. So she comes to the thing, most interested in the interweavings of all these things. Right on, Jason, right on, man. Well, I will keep making videos on all of it. Especially if you guys want to hear the health stuff, I'll get into all of it. I just got to figure out a way to really map it all out, because the demonic, scary parts of my story are, it's like telling a spooky story around the campfire. It's like you want to say it in the right way to where you might make people like, ooh, wow. You want to maybe have a little bit of a shock factor, but I want to have a positive message through it. And it's like, gosh, man, like I've been burned so much in this life that it's intimidating to talk about. But Megan came into my life. She comes to that meditation class, and the whole time she's like, she wasn't even planning on staying there. She came in to see her art. But I'm sitting there teaching the class, and the whole thing is about meditation and prayer, and about how they're two sides of one coin, and how we need to like silence our mind at times, and we also need to learn what our soul's voice is saying. And I made it very open-ended, where I'm like, regardless of your faith or anything, it's like praying is about communicating from the core of your being and learning to figure out what you're saying in the core of your being, So Megan liked that, and she the whole time was sitting in the audience just staring at me and glowing and twinkling, that connection between male and female. When you see somebody twinkling and glowing, you can feel that like chemistry going on. And I definitely felt that, and I was intrigued. So at the end of it, I talked with her and, got her number, did the whole little dating thing. And a few days later, we're going on a date, and, here we are. So that's 2018. This story is way too complicated. So rewind 1 year. Jesus experience. This is like the big one. This is the biggest one. So from 2007 until 2016 or 2017 even, if anybody met me, they considered me like a shamanistic practitioner. I never called myself a shaman. I didn't like the titles. I didn't like all the games with that. But I was very much a medicine worker. I spent a lot of time in meditation and prayer. I was always writing, always pursuing philosophy, studying world religions. I did a lot of Eastern studies, Taoism in particular, but some Buddhism and all of it. I still value a lot of the wisdom that I've learned through all of that. But anybody who knew me considered me like a mystic and a shamanistic person or a shaman. Some people would call me an actual shaman, but like, just titles. Who cares about the titles? But anyways, my point is that I was very much a mystical, weird, trippy, hippie kind of person, very detached from the Christian narrow way. I was seeking to be righteous, and I was seeking the narrow way, which is what's cool, and I'd like to address that for a second. That, through this whole time of being like a trippy mystic, I was, I naturally was just hanging around people that wanted to talk about philosophy and spiritual stuff. So where do you wind up in this world if you're wanting to talk about philosophy and spiritual stuff and you're young and you're not in a religion? You wind up in what's considered the New Age community, And compared to my peers, I was really never that New Agey. I wasn't sitting there like trying to like smudge my way out and I wasn't trying to do magic. I was always trying to avoid magic, but I was also very fascinated with these different ancient practices, and I had a respect for it. And even smudging, I don't mean to knock that entirely. That's something that's been very inflated and just pooped on by the New Age culture, just like everything. Like I'm very critical of New Age culture, but rewind back 2016, 15, 14, I was in that New Age culture, and I was going to music festivals, and I would do workshops. I would teach workshops on stuff like shamanism, meditation, health, plant teachers. I mean, oh my gosh, I've taught so many workshops. It's crazy, And I still love a lot of those people. I'll go to some of those events still. It's not like I've switched camps in a way where I'm just like, oh, I'll never talk to those people again. My people are the people of the earth. My brothers and sisters are you guys, are everybody. My Christian brothers and sisters are special to me now in Christ, but everybody's my brothers and sisters, and we're all dealing with unwinding our confusions and our struggles and making sense of things. So I still see everybody as my brothers and sisters. But when I was in that New Age community, I was kind of always the black sheep, because people will be doing all this like Reiki attunements and all these things, and like playing with different shrines and stuff, like literally like putting up the Eastern like Hindu shrines and stuff, and like meditating in front of them and stuff. And my instinct was always like, whoa, dude, I don't want to like bow down to stuff. I'm not trying to like submit to any spirits. I'm not trying to do magic. I studied magic. I studied esoterics, ritual magic, all that stuff a lot. That's actually one of my areas of interest is magic and esoteric occult kind of stuff. But I never did the stuff. I was never like, let me draw a bunch of sigils and this and try to change reality. Early on, I had a meditative kind of realization that I am not wise enough to choose how reality should change definitively. I don't know. So throughout my mystical years, I was attempting to cling to God, cling to the Most High, cling to Great Spirit, whatever terms I was applying to it to try to make sense of it. I was trying to understand what I was meant to do and not be the wizard who's like, zap, 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 I'll do this, and I'll do this magical thing, and I'll do the Enochian magic in this. Like, I knew about those things, but I was like, I don't want to dabble. I don't want to do the thing. I'm just studying. I'm a philosopher. I'm seeking to make sense of things, and I'm seeking to live in a godly way and be a part of the world discussion, So I was never doing the magic. And because of that, it really I got kind of a little ostracized in the New Age community. There was points where there was one time in particular that I was at a festival, and one of my friends was doing a Reiki attunement thing, right? And there's like 30 people under this tent, like a little pavilion pop-up thing, and they're all doing the attunement. Like they're all going there to I guess the idea is like the Reiki frequency, they say it like came from a certain person, and then that person like passes the frequency down. It's almost like in Christianity, how you say like apostolic succession, how it like goes down and it's like a pure lineage. They say that same thing with Reiki kind of, right? And they say it's like a frequency, and that you have to like open yourself up to the frequency, and then somebody else like touches you with it, and then you've got the frequency, right? That was a huge red flag to me. I'm like, I don't know who the F this original guy was with the frequency. I don't know who the F the lineage is. I don't want the frequency. If I'm meant to be a healer, I would practice sort of healing kind of things. I would be praying for people. I sort of understood the energetic mechanics that we're all connected and stuff. And it's not like I was just like completely detached from it, but it felt like a lot of red flags to me to be dabbling in something that I didn't understand and that no one really understood. So, I was at this event and there's like 30 people all sitting under this tent doing the Reiki attunement. And my friend is the one leading it. So I'm cool with the dude leading it, And it was like, so like looking back, it was so ironic and interesting that like I was the only one under the tent who did not get the attunement. Like I went to the thing to listen and learn, and I was with my girlfriend at the time. Excuse me. I think she might have got the attunement. I don't really remember, but it just showed, when I look back, it really shows where I differed with that New Age community. I didn't want the attunement. I was not going to sign at the dotted line and say, oh yeah, I'm open to that frequency. Give me that frequency. And this same person ended up like a year later, or a year or two later, completely like, he might still, I think this guy might still be into Reiki and stuff, but he withdrew some of the stuff he was doing because he was into this like Metatron energy, and he's like, oh, there's a certain angel and you can get that frequency from the angel and all that stuff. And I was like, whoa, don't want that, don't want it. Like if God will send me some angelic thing, that's up to God, but I'm not using my will and my volition to go and sign up and say, oh yeah, give me that frequency from that angel thing. It honestly kind of felt weird to me and like demonic at the time. I was like, I don't trust that, So I didn't want any of it. And, fast forward a year, like I said, that dude ends up kind of coming back and being like, hey, that Metatron stuff I was messing with was not good, and I'm sorry, and I wasn't aware and all this. And I'm like, whew, glad I didn't add that into the list of struggles, because I've already had so much chronic health issues, so much dark night of the soul. The last thing I need is to I signed up and let some weird thing into my aura, or, however the F it works, But anyways, my point in telling this story is that I was always kind of the black sheep in that community, and I was always seeking to find what that narrow way was. I just didn't quite have the terminology for it, And the last thing I thought that it would be is religion or Christianity. I was so callous towards that. I figured I was this enlightened mystic dude. I never call myself enlightened, but in my pride looking back, it did look like I felt like, oh, I'm all enlightened and I'm 5 steps ahead of religion, all that stuff, that's control systems, that's this. And looking back, that was an arrogance though. I mean, that was another assumption. I'm running on another assumption. I thought I was freeing myself from assumptions, but I was actually sacrificing a few assumptions and taking on a new one, one that was actually more prideful and arrogant, that oh, I've got the answers, and oh, anything that's truth, I can meditate and God will give it to me, which on some level, I still kind of feel on some level that, you don't really need anything in the world. Even as a Christian, I don't think you need a church. You don't need a Bible. You don't need any of it. I value the church. I value the Bible, all these things. You don't need it. It's all between you and God. If you seek to serve the Most High in spirit and truth, I do think you will find that way forward, So, my mentality is still similar, but at the time, the scales were out of balance a little bit, I think, looking back. So 2016, 17 was when all that was happening. I was peaking in my shamanistic stuff. The New Age people, they loved me. I was very popular in those communities. I would come there and I would vend my plants. Everybody was interested in buying the ayahuasca herbs. Everybody wants to come to my workshops, and I'm talking about mystical stuff and all of that. Before I added any Christian nomenclature to it, people were eating up my philosophy. As soon as, it's like Jesus says, it's in the Bible, it's if the world hates you, know that the world hated me first. It's I could see that the more that I was leaning into the worldly philosophy kind of stuff, people were very much liking it. As soon as I started going Christian or even mentioning Jesus, I got rejected so hard by so many of those people. But some of them actually did see the truth in it too, and they were really cool. Bill Gates. Oh, we got Bill Gates in the chat. Hey, Bill. Welcome, brother. Yeah, so 2017, I'm going through this breakup, right? So this is the 2016 through 2017, I was with a girl who was the most of a love story I had at that time. It was everything was great, and there was a healthy build up to the relationship, and we were on the same page in a lot of ways, and whatever. It was really cool. And the breakup kind of came out of the blue for me, and it was devastating. Everybody's been through heartbreak, and it's devastating. It's rough. And during that whole breakup thing, I had these visions of Christ. And I'm sure you guys are going to ask me what they were, so I'll just go ahead and unpack it a little bit because this is a juicy part of the story. The first one was this, okay? So I was not seeking religion. I was not seeking any of that stuff, but I had studied just a little bit of Bible stuff. I had, through my whole, from 2006 through 2016, so 10 years of meditating daily, writing all the time, talking about all philosophy all the time, just trying to be as like real and like profound as I could be. I avoided religion I avoided Christianity especially, like intensely. But like the end of 2016, I had a couple of things that felt to me like angelic experience. I had already had so much mystical stuff happen, like weird otherworldly creatures out in the woods and all the shit that like shamanistic people just eat up. They're like, oh gosh, tell me the stories about the weird mystical stuff in the woods. And I will. If you guys are interested, I can talk about some of that too. But like, I had been through so much weird mystical stuff, so much like out of body type experience, so much interesting stuff, lucid dreams. I used to lucid dream like every day naturally, like gosh, you know, I had been through so much of a mystical obstacle course that in 2016, when I have something that felt like an angel, I was like, what? Like it felt like a different category of mystical experience. And it naturally drew me into looking at like ancient ancient Hebrew terms referring to angels. Like that's kind of where it started. I was looking up Gavriel and Mikael and you know, all these Hebrew words. Like, what do they mean? I'm like, what were they talking about with angels? Because I didn't want this kind of watered down surface level thing. I'm already the mystic shamanistic dude. So if I have an angel experience, I'm going into it from scratch, seeking to understand the root meaning of these things and understand what these ancient people were talking about. I didn't want some watered down, like, it's a guy with wings that flies down and, you know, all that crap. And the more that I've studied the Bible, I see that that is all crap. It's like, that's useless, you know? But anyways, these angel experiences drew me into studying the Book of Enoch. You know, I read the Book of Enoch. I read just a little bit of Bible, you know, Psalms and stuff like that. But I had not delved into it with any real intent to be like, I need salvation. You know, I didn't think that. You know, I thought I had it figured out still. And during that breakup, it hit me hard. You know, it hit me hard that I don't have it figured out. And I started seeing the depravity of my experience. I saw that, like, what it looked like at the time was like this whole time of being this mystic, I had developed this like fortress in myself, this fortress in my mind, and this like alchemical tower that I had climbed up and built this laboratory in. And it felt like so meaningful and powerful. But I also realized during this Christ experience that I had isolated myself. I had inadvertently made myself my God. I was the dictator of truth. Zach was the wise one that could discern the stuff. Zach was the one that was the gatekeeper to see what was true and not. And what do you do with that? When all you have is you, and you've built your philosophy on the idea that anything you seek meaningfully, you'll get the answer to, where do you go from that? And at a certain point, it was like the tower toppled over. You know, and that was what, during the breakup and everything, I just felt this whole like upheaval of like, what is life? What is my purpose and everything? The Christ experience happened. I was not on anything psychedelic. I had THC in my system, but I had been smoking ungodly amounts of concentrate for like a year before this. So it's not like, oh, I'm high and all of a sudden I have a vision. It's like, no, I had like been high, like constantly. And I was very used to the rhythm of what happens when you're high. And I would have mystical type stuff happen, but I had never had anything of this tier of profound mystical stuff happen. And this Jesus experience was, I had smoked a dab some minutes earlier, maybe 10, 20 minutes earlier, something like that. It's not like I'm like peaking and all of a sudden I have a vision and I come out of the dab and I'm sober. No, it was like very significant. And I feel that even without any THC in my system, that I would have probably had something similar happen in this moment, because it really felt like it was like the veil thinning and like something happening. You know, and I hold to that because now, whatever, 6 years later, you know, this story and this experience has still been the most profound thing I've been through. And it's just unpacked into more profound things and made sense of my life in more ways. So I have this THC in my system, admittedly, but I am pretty sober feeling. I'm used to being on THC. And I go sit outside on my front porch in University City in St. Louis, up that way from where I'm at now. And I start praying, and I'm used to prayer. I believed in God. I believed that there's a, great spirit, something that unites us. There's things to talk to, there's a whole shamanistic range of things to talk to, but I believe that there's something potent at the top of it. I definitely believed all of that. I'm sitting out on this front porch and I reach out and I cry out to God. I'm like devastated. This breakup, everything, my life feels like it is falling apart, and I'm questioning if it's all like I'm on the wrong path and everything. And I reached up and I said, God, send me your salvation. Like, send me your truth, God. If there's something bigger than this, send it to me. And I used the phrase Yeshua, which is, I had read, was the Hebrew root word for salvation. And it's also Jesus' name, which is kind of a cool puzzle and mystery of its own, But I said, if there's something more, send me your salvation. Send me your Yeshua. And when I said that, like within a minute or something, I'm like crying and I'm just like, in existential turmoil, I'm reaching up, and it's hard to unpack it all, man. I look up and I see the clouds part, like literally, like the sun's behind the clouds start to part, and I see these sun rays coming through, and it's like I'm looking up at them, and it's almost like you look at the sun and it kind of like blinds you a little bit, It's like I see the sun coming through and it blinds me, and I am like out of body feeling this whole different experience. I'm feeling the sun and all this energy wash over me. I'm feeling something hit me that I have never felt on all the mushrooms and the acid and the mescaline and all the different stuff I had done in years prior. Nothing was this potent and this meaningful. And I'm feeling all this energy wash over me and all these like flashes of images and meaning and stuff. And that part I would have to meditate on for a while. I don't really remember every little flash I got, but I see the light coming over. I'm out of body. I feel this like, it felt like honey on my head, like this goo dripping down me, and it felt all warm and tingly, and I felt it run down me, and I felt my heart started beating like boom, 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 and it felt like it was like alive all of a sudden, like it was flowing, and something new was just flowing through my veins, and the light's just still blasting me, and I'm feeling all this crazy out-of-body energy, all this crazy stuff, which I could relate to from my psychedelic journeys and some of the sober mystical stuff I had, but is a higher caliber. It was a much higher caliber. When I tell people the story now, I'm like, yeah, picture like the craziest DMT experience, because I haven't done a whole lot of that. That wasn't something I explored in depth as much, but I know that that's an extremely potent psychedelic medicine that can bring people to very powerful visionary states very quickly. This felt higher caliber than what I had experienced on anything with DMT. It felt like more meaningful, more real, more straightforward. There was no confusion. There was no like, what is this? Like, I asked for God and that honey washed over me. My heart started beating and I came to, and I felt like a different person. I'm still in the existential turmoil and confusion. It's not like I'm like, oh, okay, all the tears are gone. I feel great. No, I still was unpacking all this sorrow and everything over the coming months and everything. But that experience rocked me to the absolute core. And I knew that that was Christ. I knew that that was the experience of God showing me that there was something there and there was something to reach for. In the next few months, I have a couple more visions, and I don't want to dwell on all that too much, but I had a couple more visions of Christ as I was meditating on it. That first one is significant because I wasn't trying to become Christian. I wasn't trying to do any of that stuff. I was reluctant about all of that. I just used that verbiage, Yeshua, because I thought it was kind of like catchy to my ego. My ego thought I was like, oh yeah, salvation. I kind of see that. I'm like, hey, and if there's a higher tier of what life is, show me that, God. Show me that. Show me Yeshua. So it wasn't like I was like, please make me a Christian. Goodness, no. I was still very much in my ego and in my like alchemical fortress of like, I'm this super mystical person that meditates every day and I can figure out anything if I just meditate and all of this, and like truth is always in front of us. And what I learned through my Christ experience through the next few months, what I came to is this, right? And this is something I hope you guys can meditate on and maybe value, is I ask people this question a lot. If you're looking at truth right now, if you're staring truth in the eyes and you're holding it and analyzing it and measuring it, would you know that it's truth? Do you have the facilities within yourself and the discernment to know that you're looking at truth? Or would you confuse truth with delusion? And would you maybe think that truth is delusion, or maybe think your delusion over here is truth? And that Christ experience showed me that I don't think I do have the full capacity to measure truth. And that is what knocked my alchemical tower down. And it pulled me out of this self-idolization. And for me, I think it really is what saved me on that energetic level. Like, I think Christ is the Savior, but the salvation process for me involved me being airlifted out of this self-idolization. That was the last thing I wanted, ironically, because I never wanted to idolize myself. I always tried to be humble. I never wanted to be like the dude. I never wanted to be the top dog. I didn't want any of that. But just through all the years of seeking and knowledge and building wisdom and all this stuff, inevitably, I wound up in this alchemical fortress where I kind of like felt like I was the discerner of truth and I was going to be able to make sense of things. This Christ experience just toppled it, smashed it to pieces, and left me just at a blank slate. And I started studying and learning more. I still haven't read the whole Bible or anything. Like, I'm not like, I still got a lot of journeying to do and a lot of learning to do. But that's when things really shifted. It's 2017. And then, you know, coming back to what I said 10 minutes ago, fast forward a year later, I meet Megan. And I'm Christian mystic dude at this point, you know, still figuring it out, still finding my footing in it. I'm not like your normal, I'm the black sheep in the church, right? I'm still the weird dreadlock guy. I still am using cannabis and plant medicines periodically and all this. It's not like I'm like all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm this cozy Christian. Oh, hey, come and join me on this Christian journey. I'm still this oddball. Megan always tells the story that when we had our first date, I show up, I ride a bicycle to the date because I didn't drive. That was Babylon to me. Oil companies and selling out and all this crap. You know, I drive now. I just got my license last year at 34. You know, what, man, life has just flipped over for me. But, you know, I come to this date on a bicycle, and I set a Bible down on the table, because I always just carried around a Bible in my notebook, mostly just to be able to, like, reflect on it at times, but also just the energy of what it represented, to be like, I'm seeking God. I'm seeking the Most High. You know, that to me is what the Bible represented, regardless of any arguments of, like, Council of Nicaea, you know, all of that. I'm open to hearing all of that crap. You know, I've studied a lot of that crap. You know what I mean? I have a decently informed opinion about all that stuff at this point, but it didn't matter. It wasn't about like whether or not there was some like debatable thing of like, was that really in the original text or was that added by an evil pope and shit? Like that was irrelevant. The Bible represented this quest of seeking the Most High and seeking to serve in spirit and truth. So threw the Bible down on the table and I'm sitting there having this meal and, you know, she asks, you know, what I want in life, and I don't remember how I answered. I probably answered with some spiritual kind of mystical thing. And she talks about, you know, do you want kids? Do you want family and all of this? And she says she wants 10 kids. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool. You know, halfway joking, but also serious in the sense that, like, I've always wanted family. I mean, of course, you know, I mean, like that's always seemed like an amazing, amazing adventure to go on. So we go on that first date. We end up like, we're dating after that all the time. We held off a little bit sleeping together, like longer than a lot of times. Like we were spending a day every day together for like a month before we slept together. And I'm proud of that. But also it's like, you know, I have a lot more scrutiny now in terms of like sexual relation. I would probably hold off even longer now. Like just because I feel that there's so much sanctity in that, and the amount that sex changes your mind and your heart and your hormones and your pheromones and all of that stuff, the amount it shifts everything, it is such a wild card. But anyways, like I think on some level it was providential, you know, even though God probably wanted me to hold off longer, we end up sleeping together. And then by the third month we're together, we're pregnant. And it's like, oh shit, you know, that's crazy. We're pregnant very early. Right before we get pregnant, 1 week earlier, right, we are in Forest Park laying under this tree. We're like laying down, looking up at the sun through this tree, and I pray. Like we're both praying and I'm leading the prayer. And I'm saying, God, whatever you want for our family, whatever you want for, not our family, because it's just me and her at the time, whatever you want for us, show us the way. If we're meant to be married, if we're meant to have a kid, whatever it is, show us the way forward. And we're here, we're receptive, we're listening, you know? And when I said that prayer, this is at a time, like I said 20 minutes ago in the video, super chronic health crisis, like insane. I'm not even sure if I'm gonna live much longer at this time. Like seriously, I'm like questioning everything. I have so much pain, so much spooky neurological stuff going on that I do not think I'm gonna last a lot longer. And when we're laying under there, I'm kind of like, just show me the way forward. I don't really even know what anything is anymore. I don't know, you know? But I meant what I said, you know? I love her, show us where to go, show us what we're meant to do. A week later, boom, we're pregnant. And we did not intend, like when we slept together, we weren't thinking, oh, here we go, we might get pregnant. You know, we were still trying to do the thing of like holding off and, you know, whatever. We've only been together for 3 months. You know, why would we try to get pregnant? The whole thing, looking back, it's like very providential. Like I feel like it was like destiny that I had that Jesus experience. Destiny, I meet her. Destiny, the chronic health led me to such a confused state that I cry out in such a prayer that's like contrary to my logic that would say like, oh, hold off a year or two before you get married and have kids. But we get pregnant, and then next year we have Ezekiel, and he's happy and bright and healthy, and it just changed my whole life, you know? Like anybody who has kids, it changes their life. Thinking of the whole story here. We have Ezekiel. We end up, her and I go through like a breakup in 2020 for a couple of months. And while we had a kid, and that was the most nightmarish, crazy stuff. And it was largely because of my own sin that provoked it. Like I was in like a lustful, confused place. I still did not have my mind and my heart under wraps all the way. I didn't cheat or anything like that, but it was like, it was getting weird. I was getting into a lustful territory that was dark and not good. And I was still going through so much chronic health stuff. I was honestly like very confused, and I was having a very difficult time like piecing my mind and my heart together, you know? And it's not an excuse, but you know, for context, you know, it was like, I was trying to still be a good person, but I was failing. And so, you know, she had left me, but it was only a couple of months we were apart, and we came back together and we got pregnant again. And then, you know, now 2023, we're married. We just got married this year. We just got back from our honeymoon, actually. We were in Colorado, and it was freaking awesome. So let me look at my notes for a second and figure out where else to go, because there's just literally just so much crap in the story. It's crazy. But the Jesus thing is huge. The New Age thing is, you know, where I was at, to Jesus, to having a kid. Like, during this time, too, for context here, it's like like I said earlier, 2015 and 16 is when I made these videos. So most of the people that know me here know me through that context. Like, who am I in 2015 and 16? I'm like this raw food guy. I'm super avid about health. Super mystical, teaching about like alchemy and mysticism and stuff like that. And then fast forward into now, like so much change between like 2016 and like 2020 or whatever, 2021, whenever I first made another video. And then now up till 2023, it's like life is like in a totally different place. But so many of the rough edges have been rounded. And that's why I'm so excited about this year, trying to rebuild this and form communication with you guys and become a part of the conversation with mystics, herbal people talking about plant medicine, and also the Christian world, which is why I'm making videos on Christian topics, because I have a lot to say on that, and maybe certain things to challenge that might be beneficial for the conversation with fellow Christians. So I'm still like finding my footing in all of this and figuring out where I'm meant to be, you know? My health was stabilizing. In 2020 was the first time I broke veganism, all right? So 2020 had eggs. And this is after like, I mean, I literally had chronic health issues the entire time I was vegan. So it's not like I was just glowing in health and I was just like, oh, let me try some eggs. Like, no, it's like I had already been vegan for 13 years and had chronic health issues through the whole thing. And I wasn't a junk food vegan. I'm not eating the Beyond Burger crap. I'm not eating any of the Babylon stuff. I'm trying to avoid all of that. I'm trying to be the healthy dude. You know, when I was pure 100% raw, there was times that I felt very healthy. And I'm going to revisit that at some point. I want to revisit the raw vegan paradigm, because maybe there is something there. And maybe that would be sustainable for me again. I'm not really sure. But 2020, we have a kid at this point. I'm not sure if I want to raise my kids vegan, to be honest and vulnerable with you guys, and at the expense of possibly losing audience, because I'm sure some of you are like, oh, I'm vegan, oh no, I would only raise my kids vegan. I don't blame you, I understand. Like I lived in that idealism, but having a kid shook me out of that idealism, because I realized I didn't know what was right for my own health, let alone for my children. And do I want to press my idealism onto my children and say like, oh, this is all we eat and we'll never touch meat and this is our family? Because for me, the veganism thing, I was hoping it would be healthy, But like I said earlier, I didn't care if it was healthy. I was about peace, trying to be pacifistic, you know, and I was willing to die on that journey, at least get close to death. I think anybody, when you get close to death, you start freaking out and questioning stuff. But like, I had to question everything and rethink it. And having Ezekiel really reshaped my perspective. So we started doing eggs in 2020, local eggs. You know, I'm like, I won't touch anything from a store, no antibiotics and all that. And I'm still like that. You know, I don't want Babylon food. Keep that crap away from me, you know? So we're getting like local fresh eggs from a farm and all that stuff. And it felt good, you know? I always loved eggs when I was younger. So I'm like making omelets and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, right on. This is good. Then it felt kind of healthy. Didn't heal me. Like I was still like in total crisis. But I was like, yeah, it feels stable. You know, maybe this will be good. And then it wasn't I think later that year, oh my gosh, I'm getting rained on. Hold on, let me move. We'll see if it passes. But yeah, later that year, we did fish. And that was a big thing for me too. I was so freaked out doing fish or any meat after 13 years without. Like, talk about overcoming conditioning, you know what I mean? Like, whether that conditioning was righteous or not is a whole nother debate. But you got 13 years of conditioning under your belt, and then all of a sudden you're gonna go eat a fish? Like, dude, that'll freak you out. You know, that'll make you question things and make you wonder what's right. But okay, I'm gonna shift over here because it's starting to come down hard. You guys see all the rain? My office is very cool looking. You can probably see it here. All right, here we go. So yeah, we did fish. Me and Megan and Ezekiel did fish in late, it was like late 2020. It was like autumn or whatever. And very insecure about that, but it felt like sustainable food. It felt like nutrition. And for my children, it was mostly about brain development. I didn't want to press my vegan idealism onto them at the expense of like omega acids and all that stuff that's good for brain development, you know? And whether that's right or wrong is debatable, and I welcome your guys' comments. I mean, you know, be gracious, please, because we're talking about, you know, raising children and stuff. It ain't just like a conversation among adults. But yeah, I'm open to criticism or ideas that perhaps I was wrong on that. You know, that's totally fine. We do fish at the end of 2020. That's right when me and Megan are getting back together, which was like such a blessing. And then 2021, we're like rebuilding. We become pregnant with our second child. We only pressed into actually eating like meat, after, pull this down a little bit. We only pressed into eating like meat, like red meat at all, in the second pregnancy. And that's because Megan, we were doing a home birth, okay? So with Ezekiel, we did a midwife and all that. Like, again, I don't trust Babylon. I don't trust the system. I want to live naturally. I want to live in a godly way. So, you know, our first kid, of course, it's an easy decision that we want to do a home birth. We don't want to do the hospital. We don't want all that. We don't want the crap of Babylon. So we have a midwife. We're on track to do a home birth, but Ezekiel was 3 weeks early. And it's largely because of stress between me and Megan. Like, we were still kind of like in like an intense point in our connection. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like leading into my like lust and my confusions and stuff and stressing her out. You know, the stuff that led into the breakup was like starting there during the pregnancy. And Ezekiel was 3 weeks early, probably because of the stress. And because he was 3 weeks early, the midwife was like, it's not safe to do the home birth. Let's go to the hospital. And, you know, talk about total shock. Like, that was an ultimate freak out for me. But it went really smooth, and we were blessed, and it went good. He came out very healthy. They said he was like a great birth weight and size, and they were like, he might not even be early based on the size and all that. Maybe you had the date wrong. And we're like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? Cool. You know, we're just grateful our kid's healthy and happy. But the second pregnancy, the second one with Magnolia, we're also doing a midwife. We're also set to do a home birth, and like things are looking pretty good, but her iron levels are low. And we did, with Ezekiel and with her, we did every combination of vegan iron supplements. We did all the expensive crap you can get, all the like different like
sprouts and the different stuff that might be a good mineral source, you know, I tried all my tricks to make sure that we could have a vegan pregnancy. And with Ezekiel, we did do the vegan pregnancy successfully, but it was stressful, and her iron levels were still not really there at the end. It was like close, you know. Magnolia, iron levels are not doing good. They're way too low. We're doing all the supplements, and they're barely going up. Like, I forget the numbers, but like whatever number you had to be at to have a home birth, we were like only a little bit of that. And then as we were supplementing and all this, like so many supplements, so we're just eating like all these like pills and doing the Floridix or whatever it's called. I think that's the name of it. There's a drink that's like really popular, and it's like an iron supplement. And there's a vegan version and a non-vegan, and we tried both. We tried the vegan one or whatever, and nothing. You know, we're getting like incremental gains, but still so far away from safe home birth territory. And at a certain point, it was suggested that red meat is kind of like the thing that corrects that, and it's because of heme iron and the bioavailability of heme iron. So Megan gets a deer liver from her brother who hunts. So, you know, about as like natural and local as you can get, right? It kind of fit my criteria in that regard. But I'm also like so freaked out. I'm like, I don't want red meat. I don't want any of this. I don't want to be hunting. I don't want livers. I don't want any of this, you know? But I also was humbled by how serious the birthing process is. And I'm like, hey, if this is what God needs, it's okay. Like, kind of like left it in her hands to like make the decision. And she wanted to do it. So I start cooking this deer liver for her, because I was like, hey, if we're going to do it, I'll cook it. I'll prepare it for you. I'll put the blessing into it, you know, try to approach it in a good way and give it to you. Cut it up, gave it to her. Her iron levels just go through the roof, like automatically. Boom, high iron levels. Boom, totally good, totally in the clear for the home birth, you know. I try the deer liver too, because when I'm cooking it, the smell and I mean, it totally freaked me out. Totally freaked me out. As 13-year vegan, I'm like very reluctant about a deer liver. Very reluctant about a deer liver, but when I'm cooking it, I cooked it outside on this. I cooked it outside on a electric pan, electric griddle or whatever it's called, skillet, whatever it's called. I cooked it outside on this electric grill because I didn't want the smell anywhere in our house. I'm like, keep this deer, keep this dead animal vibe out of our house. You know, I'm still like very much feeling like my vegan self still. I cook it outside, but the smell and the energy of it, I felt it doing something in me. Like my body was like, there's something here. Like, and again, I have had chronic health issues for so long at this point. And I have already dabbled in fish trying to alleviate that. And it kind of helped, but not all the way. And I eat a piece of this deer liver, and I definitely feel the energy from it. Like my body was like, yes, there's something here that will help heal you. And it did seem to be stabilizing and helpful in a big way. Like that kind of did represent a point when I think my health started to balance back out again. But I don't eat it a whole lot now or anything. I'm not eating a lot of livers. You know, that's a little crazy for me still. But anyways, 2022 we do deer meat. My health is stabilizing. I begin to make sense of dietary triggers. As I start doing red meat, I'm not going to get into all my dietary stuff right now because it's a lot, but I started realizing that I was getting super triggered from plant foods. And so I start studying the stuff like a lot of the buzzwords, and there's so much crap in the buzzwords, but there's also some truth in there too. The stuff like the oxalates and the salicylates and the histamine intolerances and all this stuff. Like histamine is not a plant thing. Histamine can be plant or meat related, but oxalate is a plant toxin. If you're not familiar with it, it's a plant toxin. Don't start researching it. You're going to fall down a rabbit hole of like half crap probably. So, you know, be mindful if you want to look into it all. But I looked into oxalates. Salicylate came after that. Salicylate I avoided like the plague because it is a chemical that is in every plant. Like everything has salicylate. All the vegan stuff has that. So that was like nightmarish to even consider that I would be sensitive to that. But I started paying attention and studying, and as I was exploring meat and fasting a bunch and trying to just elimination diet, just try to do like nothing and see where I stabilize to, and then eat something and see if it helps me and all of that, I definitely realized that not only was the meat seeming to balance me a little bit, but also that plants were triggering me, and some plants more than others. And all the stuff that I thought was like amazing, some of that was destroying me. And so that just flipped my whole paradigm upside down of like, wait a minute, have I just been toxifying myself for all these years on these plant medicine, or not medicine, plant foods and all this? Have I been just destroying myself? And now, 2023, I'm still not really sure on that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm definitely sensitive to a lot of that stuff, but I am excited to kind of re-explore it and maybe see if, like, I've never done fruitarian. I would like to explore that for a period of time and see if there's any efficacy to allowing my biome to balance back out on just plants. But honestly, it was so startling realizing how many of the things I was eating were triggering me. And it was humbling too. That's the good news about it, is it was humbling. In the same way that it was humbling to realize that I can't impose my idealism on my child and just make him a vegan and feel like that's just totally peachy. I also was very humbled in realizing that a lot of the things that I was doing that I thought were perfect might not have been perfect, And it's not fun. Nobody likes to, pull this forward, I'm getting rained on more. Nobody wants to have your life turned upside down like that and realize that, like, you're doing things wrong. But it's humbling, And when you're seeking to be corrected by God, when you don't want to be your own God, you don't want to be your own master, it's humbling, And it has been. I'm still humbled. I'm still humbled by how ridiculous my body responds to everything. Like, gosh, guys, like, there's so much to say about all of it. And if you guys want to hear more about all that, if you guys have dealt with chronic health stuff, comment, let me know. Tell me what you guys have dealt with. If you guys have had a bunch of issues with, let me fix this again, with plant foods or with anything, let me know. If you've had health issues, if you've studied and looked through the kind of oxalate, salicylate stuff, I would love your input, because maybe you guys know more about it than me, But, like, all of that stuff is just such a mess, especially because it's like, it's so divisive, you know what I mean? Because, like, the people that are into the oxalates and salicylates are, like, anti-vegan. They're like, that's toxic and that's a cultural program to get people sick, And I don't think that. I don't know, though. I did get pretty sick, So it's, like, very divisive. And then if you're in the vegan community, they're all like, oh, that oxalate stuff's all fake. No, you gotta just say vegan. And that's divisive, too. I mean, it's hard to really know. So I would love to get some wisdom from you guys and hear about your story and know, like, what have you guys been through? Have you guys been vegan, have been healthy? Have you been raw? Do you have weird responses to foods? Do you have chronic pain? Do you have chronic sinus issues? Because for me, that's what it all really was. Chronic pain and sinus issues to the degree where I would have my ear clogged all the time. My breathing would be bad. At the peak of it, I was having what's called a recurring sinus infection. Just always sick. Just always freaking sick. Like, always snotty, nose running, feeling like crap, cloudy headed, lethargic, low energy. Horrible stuff that I am so blessed to have found my way out of, at least a little bit. I still deal with some of that stuff, but it was bad back at the peak of, like, 2018, 19, 20. Like, wow, it was bad. So would love your guys' input and criticism. If you can go ahead and knock me. I'm not hurt over divisive stuff. Please don't, offend my family, because I'll be frustrated about that, or, attack my family or whatever. But you can attack me and say you're dumb for thinking about the oxalate thing and changing veganism. I'm totally open to that. I would like to ideally hear some elegant information in the middle of it. But feel free to criticize me. I don't mind any of that. Like I said, I've been humbled through it. Humble me again, smack me down to the ground and teach me to be vegan again. I'm open to that. Holy Spirit's convicting me and showing me the way to health and peace in 2021, my notes say. 2023, more stable than ever, but still healing. I didn't really talk about the demonic stuff as much. Oh, here's Jason. Oh, I can see the comments now. Oh, wow, Anthony Amaro commented. Oh, my gosh, my old neighborhood friend. So cool to see you, brother. What a blessing. I had no idea you were on my channel. My old neighborhood friend. He said, "Can Zach come out to play?" Good times, man. Jason said, I've had autoimmune my entire adult life, been through vegan raw elimination diets. The conclusion I've come to is that this energetic component of food probably has more to do with our reaction. Interesting. Yeah, interesting, man. Yeah, Jason, you've always been on my radar as being like a brother in a somewhat similar kind of paradigm, you know, and I've always appreciated that he said, oh, you're saying more of the energetic than the nutrients and stuff. Yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you. I'm always reconfiguring and trying to figure it out. So I totally understand. Yeah, the real, I didn't really get into like the demonic kind of stuff that I've dealt with. I didn't describe it much. Like I said earlier, I don't really want to describe it much. It's spooky to describe it, like what it looks like to be like. I don't think possession is the right word. I think that's a little extreme in most cases, but I would say demonic oppression, right? That's something I dealt with very heavily all the way back from 2006. Came on really strong 2007, and yeah, I don't talk about it a whole lot because it's something that very easily gets you labeled as totally crazy. But coming into the Christian world, I've gotten a little bit more encouraged to talk about it because I think it is very real stuff. And especially getting to know all the branches of Christianity and seeing the ones that I think are more like legit and serious, they very much do understand the mystical reality of what it is to, what it is for the battles to not be of flesh and blood, but with principalities and powers in high places, like Paul says in Ephesians 6. It's very real stuff. But the demonic stuff was really heavy for me, and it kind of came through waves, you know, like there was times where I was in a more dark place and a brighter place and all of this. But in my notes, I have that the demonic is not under my skin in 2023, and that's a big, good monument on the walk. Because there was points in my early adulthood where, man, to describe this, I'm going to end up painting a picture, and I'm like conflicted on it because I don't really want to talk about it a whole lot. There was points where I very much felt something under my skin that was dark and very foreign. And during that time, I was not an incoherent, rambling madman. If you would have seen me, you would have thought I was pretty intelligent and coherent in my communications. So, you know, I can meditate on, was I just going crazy? And, you know, of course, it's good to ask that question sometimes. But I don't think it was just craziness. I think any craziness I was experiencing was a byproduct of actual, like, kind of demonic infiltration and stuff. But back in, you know, 2007, 8, 9, 10, like that period, I very much felt something under my skin. I would very much see something weird in myself when I would look in the mirror. You know, in terms of like new agey trippy stuff, I've always been very sensitive to energy, as they say. As a kid, I think I was, but in my early adulthood, it got very, very loud. And you know, like I don't like talking about auras and energy and stuff that much because it's divisive. People either think I'm lying or they just think I'm like some guru they need to listen to, and I don't really want either of that, you know. But I definitely sense energy and like subtle things, and sometimes I can perceptually see it and sense it. And with God's grace, that sense and that perception of it has always been very coherent. Even the things that were very dark and demonic seeming, they were compartmentalized enough to where I don't really feel like it was just insanity. You know, I feel like it was the reality of our life, that there really are dark things that we're battling. But yeah, there was times where I looked in the mirror and I could see something under my eyes. I could see that there was something else there. And I won't even describe it more than that because it's scary, dude. It's really scary. And I don't want to tell the campfire tale that gives you the chills, you know? That's not what I'm here for. I'll talk about it a little bit more if people will benefit from it and if it's a blessing to somebody. But yeah, the real dark stuff is spooky to me to talk about because it's not that I'm scared of it. In Christ, I feel like Satan's got nothing on me now. I'm battling still. I got my crosses to carry. But yeah, I'm not scared of that stuff either. Oh, Cassie Pope. I've seen those things too. Oh, I would love to talk with you about that. One of my sisters in Christ. Um, yeah, yeah. It's been a big journey, man. It's been a big journey. Let me see here. See if I got any other notes. I'm probably just going to wind it down here because I don't want to go in too far. So the things I wanted to cover were food. The food journey I rambled about for like half of this video. Vegan, to exploring other stuff, to feeling like everything was destroying me. And then like last year I was eating pretty much one meal a day, like the OMAD they call it. Next Bible study, yeah, right on. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too, Cassie. Yeah, I was doing like one meal a day because like pretty much I just felt like I had to fast all day to even get my body kind of peaceful, and I would have pain through the whole day. And even after the fast, I was still in pain, but it would like come down enough that I was like, okay, I can handle a meal. Let's eat a meal, and I'm starving at this point because I haven't eaten all day, you know. And yeah, that was rough. But food journey's been nuts. My work journey, I told you guys about Eternity in a Box. Eternity has been really growing a lot the last, excuse me, has been really growing a lot the last couple of years. My father, Steve, just retired from being a construction worker, and I am so blessed that he has been helping at the office. There's the office behind me. It's kind of a mess right now, but he's been helping with plant orders. He's packages the Eternity in a Box orders more than I do at this point. He does like the daily things, and I'm kind of expanding and doing the internet part and communicating with customers and expanding and everything else. But work has been a whole thing, and I'm really passionate about people running businesses. You know, that's kind of where I differ from a lot. That's part of what makes Zach Zach, is I'm very motivated with business, and I'm very motivated to provide for the people around me, especially now being married with kids, man. I'm ready to put the pedal to the metal, you know. My early adulthood, I kind of wrestled with the whole thing of like money and like, is money evil, and where's the line of materialism, and are you selling your soul to Babylon to make money, and all of that. I've wrestled with all of that, and I still do. It's you have to, or else you're gonna end up selling your soul to Babylon, you know. So I still wrestle with it, but I've come to a place where I'm very I don't know. I'm a capitalist, I guess. to like label myself with like a dark label that hippies and probably a lot of people on this channel hate. I'm motivated about the idea of being able to build a business and provide for people and have employees that you can take care of, and that you're not just like sitting on top on a cozy inflatable pool toy while everybody works underneath you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sitting back. Like, I want to stay in the grind. I want to work hard. But I'm really feeling that, like how powerful and meaningful that is. And the fact that Eternity in a Box has been around for over 10 years now is just so amazing. And I'm so inspired to help encourage other people to get out there and work and do stuff. And yeah, if you don't want to work for the man, then don't, you know? But you also don't need to start your own business. Like, there's plenty of good businesses that you can go be a part of, and you can integrate into other people's visions, you know? There's a lot of opportunity here, and that's kind of where I differ with a lot of the hippie community. A lot of people are like very unmotivated and kind of like sitting around talking crap about capitalism at the expense of ever really getting anywhere in their life and in their own growth. And it's like, I want everybody to be happy. I don't care if I don't care where you're at with money. I'm not gonna like judge you if you're broke or whatever. Yeah, leaving a legacy for your children. Exactly. Like in the Bible, it says to provide for not only your children, but your children's children. Like, try to build up something so much that it's going to ripple down 2 generations, you know, and that's what I'm going for. It's not that I'm not very wealthy, you know, I mean, I'm like only a slight step ahead of the curve here, but I'm very motivated about the idea of working and providing and building things, you know what I mean? And that's something that as I'm getting this channel back on, I really feel like strong about that. Like, I would really like to do not like red pill content, definitely not, but like sort of adjacent to that, in the sense of like go and build and provide and like make something of yourself and build. Happy 420. It's not 420 now, is it? Green pill. Yeah, there we go. Green's a good color. Yeah. Yeah, I'm passionate about the idea of overcoming these like Babylon conditionings that are leading people into like meaningless like sexual relations and like living a life where you're just like hating on all the system and then just sitting around broke and jaded and angry and stuff like that. You know, like I'm all for we can stand against the system, we can preach against Babylon, chant against Babylon. I'm all for all of that. I'm not a fan of the system. If you've watched any of this video, I'm sure you've gained that. I'm not a promoter of Babylon or of these world systems, but at the same time, I am a promoter of people and people thriving and doing good. I want people to, yeah, get a step ahead of the system. You know, I don't want us to be slaves to Babylon and to feel that the only options are just these low-paying, crappy jobs, or that you have to, you know, whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm passionate about that stuff, and I'd like to make some more videos. If you guys are interested in that, and you want to hear some like motivational, like get out there and get your grind on, but with my spiritual kind of like tone to it, you know, comment and let me know, because I'd love to make some more stuff to encourage you guys, you know, and maybe even make some videos about helping you guys with business. I've become very savvy with business. I'm very good at sales and customer relations, and I don't want to come on, Eminem, man, I don't know, dude. I listened to him when I was younger. I don't know. I'm not sure how that relates exactly. I listened to him when I was really young. I'm not really into rap, though. It's never really been my cup of tea, you know. I was into, like, more psychedelic hippie music, and now, honestly, I mostly listen to reggae. I listen to reggae and dancehall reggae, like, everything from Jamaica, dude. I'm, like, I'm, like, so obsessed with that, like, Rasta music culture. Love it. I'm not a Rasta, but I'm like adjacent to them in the sense that I'm a Christ follower who's here to chant down Babylon, and I just see what they're doing, and I love it. You know, I love it. I differ with some of their theology, but enjoy that TV. I don't know what that TV show is. Do not know. Yeah, art and philosophy has always been a passion. All that's just come through so many different phases, and you know, all my stuff centers around philosophy. That's like my passion, is just talking about things and pursuing meaning and understanding. The pain, sexual struggles, the dark nights of the soul, the jail time. I didn't tell you guys about that. So 2013, my father had property out in southern Missouri, and at this point in Missouri, weed is like super illegal here. Like, they're like, Babylon is very much against cannabis. And I grew cannabis out in the woods and got caught doing it. And they showed up with machine guns, and you know, it was crazy, dude, crazy. The only time I've been in trouble, and with God's blessing, hopefully the only time I will be in trouble, you know, I only did 42 days in jail total, but yeah, man, that was pretty crazy. That was too much, you know. So that was like a big shocking kind of point in my journey, was going to jail. That's the only other thing in my notes I think I haven't really covered. So, and at this point, I'm a legal medical patient. I've only done one grow as a medical patient, but it was a legal grow, and it was really fulfilling to be able to grow legally. And at this point, like, oh my gosh, dude, the laws here in Missouri are so cool with cannabis that we can carry, I can legally carry right now 30 ounces of weed. Isn't that crazy? I can have just under 2 pounds of weed on me legally. Isn't that nuts? That's how far the culture has come here in Missouri, is our medical system is really good here. We got a really good law passed, and yeah, I like, most people can carry 18 ounces legally, but you can get an allotment increase if you reach out and if you deal with chronic pain and different stuff like that. You know, if you have any legitimate purpose. What's more nuts is possession limits. Yeah. I mean, it's nuts in general that Babylon just puts these arbitrary numbers of like, here's how many plants you can have on you. You know, totally agree. But having grown up with those arbitrary limitations, it is absolutely amazing to be able to put a pound of weed in my backpack and go bike around if I want. I mean, like, you know, not that often that I want to carry a pound of weed around, but it's liberating to just know that like I can do that. You know, I mean, that's so great. And being able to like carry, you know, my pipe and I'm on a weed break right now, so I'm not using right now, but being able to carry my dab pipe and carry my all this different stuff. I got this little Puffco thing, carry it and go to the park and just whoop, you know, bust it out and hit a dab or whatever. That's so interesting. And for me, being an herbalist or whatever, that's such a novel change in our culture that I find that like it's almost like I get a high just from knowing that that's like allowed. You know what I mean? Like regardless of the psychoactivity or anything, it's just it's such a trip that that's a thing now. So I hope this answered some questions of who I am. Who is Zach Zaxton? Who is this guy? Why does he post stuff about so many different weird things, Christian philosophy and psychedelic plants and all of this? And I hope to further round these edges around and help people to understand not just where I'm coming from, but what this position represents. I feel like God has put it in my heart to become more vocal in this next year, speaking and representing what I am. Because I think everybody who is in the body of Christ is a bridge in a unique way to different people. And I'm not trying to build a bridge that just says, oh, come on in and sin, do whatever you want. No, Christ is a narrow way. It's always a calling that's a narrow way that challenges us. It's always a challenge. If you seek, even subtract Christian ideals, just in general, if you seek to serve the highest purpose that God has for you, the highest purpose that you can achieve, it's a narrow way. There's a whole bunch of other ways that are not going to be as effective. There's a laser point in front of you of something really meaningful that you can pursue. And I feel really excited to build a bridge to this community, to the plant medicine people, to the mystics, to the philosophers, to some of the new age people. Like I said, I'm very much connected in with you guys still. I want you guys to see that it's possible to be a follower of Christ and still kind of be a weird countercultural freak like I am. You guys are talking about hip hop and stuff. I'm not even sure. I've heard of some of those names. You guys are over my head though. I'll have to look back through the comments and search because I'm not really sure any of that stuff. But yeah, I'd really like to further establish my voice in this world, and not for myself, but hopefully because it can be beneficial to somebody. And if my channel can get bigger and I can provide some income for my family from this, that would be a huge blessing too. But I'm not that worried about that. You know, it's like if that's not meant to be, it's okay. But I do seek to be a bridge builder. And I think that God gave me my particular story for a reason. And he's brought me to right now and putting these words in my voice right now in order to help me step into building a bridge and build a very precise bridge that reaches to very precise people. And I pray that some of those people are you. I pray that some of you are already here hearing this now, and that others might reach this message might reach other people that will benefit from it through sharing and whatever else. Okay. The sun's coming back out. It's bright out there. Try to get all the light off me. But yeah, I'm Zach. I'm a dreadlock, mystical, weird person. I'm an herbalist. I run a company that sells ayahuasca plants. I don't think that's ungodly. I think that God designed all of these plants to have the exact medicinal efficacy that they have. And that was not an accident. And I don't think that they're all a temptation to get people to stray. I think that it's a narrow way to use them responsibly, just as it's a narrow way to seek true righteousness in your life in all other regards. But I am passionate about speaking to the reality that these plants are here for a reason, and I hope that I can encourage you all not to go out and just trip and eat plants. That's not the encouragement. Encourage you to be excited about what life is, what is possible in life, and how wide the Like, it's like when Jesus said, in my Father's house there's many mansions and in the many rooms in the mansions or something, you know. It's like, there's a room. There's a room. God has a room for you, like every one of you. Like, even if you guys relate to what I'm saying, or if you like don't at all, you know, it's like, God has a room for you. And I might not be the voice to show you where that room is, but if I am, I would like to show you where the room is. And maybe you're meant to hang out in my room, you know? And maybe you're meant to help show me that there's a further corridor and a more refined room that I'm meant to be in. And I welcome that, because I don't think I've got stuff figured out. I definitely don't think I've got stuff figured out. I'm humbled to be a part of the journey and be learning more every day. Turned out to be a long video. That's awesome. Well, I hope this is beneficial to you guys. Please subscribe and like the video. It goes a long way with helping the algorithms. Actually, not sure. I'm as, like I said earlier in the video, my ability to measure truth is not perfect. So I can be as sure as I can be, but am I sure that my surety is accurate to reality or indicative of truth? No, I'm not. I'm not sure about anything in that sense. I'm sure about seeking the will of the Most High. Have faith that Jesus... Yeah, from my understanding of what I've read and what I understand of studying church history and looking at the ripples through history, yeah, I do think that Jesus was God showing up in a way to split history in two and to scream on a megaphone to all of reality, of all the people through all time and all space, that they have a mansion, they have a room in the mansion, and that he wants them on his team. And that's why Christ exemplifies mercy above judgment. Free will in heaven? I'm not sure how heaven even works, man. I know that heaven is shamayim in Hebrew, and that it's a plural word, and that it refers to a complex metaphysical discussion. In the full embodiment of heaven on earth, or the new heaven and new earth, there wouldn't be a choice to sin, no. It would be like right now we're free to sin, but sin is not freeing. The thing about life is that there's always infinite choices. And if I right now say, okay, I got infinite things in front of me, I'm so free. Now let's say, all right, well, I'm not gonna be a murderer. I'm not gonna murder, I'm not gonna rape, right? Like, of course, subtract those off. I still got infinite things. It's not like I've limited the things. I might have bracketed those off, said I'm not gonna do those, but there's still infinite choices, infinite possibilities. I think that that's what branch of Christianity would say best reflects Christian? Gnosticism, Eastern Orthodox? I love Eastern Orthodox, Jason. They're the ones I've been really flirting with, getting to know. I'm just reluctant about submitting to a church institution, to be vulnerable with you, brother. Because they're very big on having a spiritual father and submitting to the church authority and whatnot, but they are about as wise as I have ever seen when it comes to Christian understandings. But to answer the other question, in heaven, what I picture is, yeah, I don't know how heaven works. I mean, come on now. But I know that I could have infinite free choice in exploration. I picture, my vision of heaven is living a life where you have all the time and all the energy and all the space to explore the beautiful creation of God and explore relations with beautiful people that you care about. And all of the things that are disastrous and stupid and destructive have all been bracketed off to where you no longer even have any desire for those things. And that is not a limitation of freedom. Oh, what is that? I don't see that as a limitation of freedom. I kind of see that the existence in heaven would be a purified state, like silver that's been refined in the fire 7 times, like it talks about in Psalms, where we no longer have any desire for those things. So you would still have infinite choices, infinite free will, but the free will is tempered with wisdom and understanding of what harmony and peace really is, you know? Allah gives us a choice. See, I haven't studied Islam in depth. Quran is their book, I know, but yeah, I know that I differ with Islamic theology in several ways that feels very important, and that's why I am not a follower of Allah or Muhammad, but instead a follower of Christ. And I see the calling of Christ as being so potent and meaningful in part because it's a narrow way, but it's very open to the nuance of who you are. I think as God calls all of us into his family, he uses whatever your story is and your disposition, it becomes the perfect catapult or diving board to become a flourishing part of God's community. So that is what's so freeing for me in Christ. And that's why I'm still kind of working all of this out. I'm like, does God ultimately want me to never smoke cannabis again? Like, I'm open to that, but so far I have not felt that. And that's what's so cool about Christianity is it's all comes down to the convictions of the Holy Spirit. We are, the sanctification process is every day tuning in and praying more and asking the Holy Spirit what we are supposed to do and challenging ourselves and seeking that narrow way more. But I don't see like the need for any sort of like legalistic, like absolute stringent things. The stringent things is love your neighbor as yourself and love God and like seek the will of the Most High at all times. And that's part of what the mystery of Christ is all about, I think, is that it's not what you think it is. It's not fully what I think it is either. It's something that's freeing and also just elevates meaning to a higher caliber in our life. Like the more that I've gotten close to Christ, the more that I feel not only at peace, but I really feel a high calling, and I'm mingling with people in a way that is so fundamentally different than what I've done before. The people who are the brothers and sisters in Christ that I meet, some of them are more like conservative and traditional, and some of them are closer to my camp, like weird mystical people. But all of them, there's just something so powerful and meaningful about what we are sharing with each other, all the people that are in the church body, the living church, the ecclesia, the living body of believers. So. All right, I'm gonna get off here because if I just keep answering comments, it's gonna turn into like a 2-hour plus video. And if you guys want more super long format stuff like this, please comment. Please let me know what you like. Let me know what you don't like. Let me know if it was dumb that I talked this long or whatever. I'm down to direct this channel the way that you guys would like it to, in some capacity. And I'm always asking God about where to direct it to. And I was excited to jump on today and ramble, and I hope that this was a blessing to you. I hope that you'll go back through and skim the video and, hopefully find some gems in there that are meaningful. It's not that I'm like some golden person, but I hope that God can show you some gold through the ripples of what you're hearing here and hopefully inspire you in a good way. So in closing, please do like the video and help it get up on the algorithm. You can share the video, share the channel, send it to a friend, send it to somebody who's a Christian, and maybe see if they're challenged by this, see if they like hate me because I am an herbalist, or maybe that they'll love me and be like, wow, this guy's really onto something, and maybe they'll it'll create a good conversation between you and your Christian friend. Maybe send it to a non-Christian friend that's a mystic, that's a new age, and maybe it'll challenge them, and maybe they'll hate it because I'm Christian, or maybe they'll be fascinated and they'll feel something there. So, we're all rippling off of each other and helping each other to grow. I don't think I'm the teacher. I think the only teacher is the Holy Spirit, and I seek to be one little piece of the voice of the Holy Spirit, or allow the Holy Spirit to work through my voice in some capacity so that I can be a part of the unfolding of truth on the earth. So, thank you, God. Thank you for giving me your breath and giving me a chance to speak, giving me life today, and giving me a reduction in my pain enough to where I can sit here and I can smile and I can feel real and feel alive with my brothers and sisters. Thank you so much for being here with me today, God, and giving me this company, help me to feel safe. Bless my brothers and sisters. Help everybody to heal. Don't just heal me, God. Hear everybody else's prayers and heal them too, God. If I got to carry a cross and have chronic pain and other people get to be healed first, so be it. But bless everybody. Please show up and make your presence known. Amen. Love you guys. Bye.